moving on. We are going to talk about Kanye West and the Donda Academy. Mary, do you want to lead this one for us?
Sure. I mean, I am intensely interested because Kanye is starting this as a Christian private school. Now, weirdly, they've had a lot of staffing changes, and they were hiring up to like a week before the school
started.
started.
Doesn't seem like that gives you enough time to write up a curriculum, but what do I know?
No, and it's under intense scrutiny, not just because people have, reasons they dislike Kanye, but also people have a problem with any Christian institution.
Yeah, I didn't even think of that.
To begin with.
Yeah.
So he's under intense watch right now, and it's said that all of the parents and staff and consultants involved in this project are under non-disclosure agreements. Now, they're saying it's informal, but so far there's no comment from any of the people involved, any of the students, any of the parents, any of the teachers. We only know that they have a woman named Brianne Campbell as the principal, and another woman I think named Allison, I forget her last name. There's a vice principal that we know the name of. Brianne Campbell has no background in education. She's also quite young to be in her position. She's 28, and she's currently in a program to get a formal education so that she's able to get this school accredited.
See, I kind of like
this school is not currently accredited. They expect to be accredited in the spring next year.
I like the non-traditional. I mean, maybe it ends up being a humongous disaster.
It sounds like it could be, though.
But our educational system is already a functional disaster, so I say go ahead and try.
This is interesting because it's a continuation of Kanye's beef with Kim sending their kids to Sierra Canyon, which is a Calabasas private school. It's secular. Mm-hmm. And he wants his kids to be exclusively attending Donda Academy because he personally called out Sierra Canyon for being woke and indoctrinating kids.
He considered it into 50-50 then. He was like half Donda, half Sierra Academy.
Yeah.
So the kids just have to make twice as many friends and see them half as often?
Yeah, I hope it's not just like his way of, I guess,
Thank you.
stoking an argument with Kim, and it's something he genuinely believes in. There are about 100 students enrolled right now, some of whom are like related to public figures. Like one of them is an influencer's kid. I think Keisha Cole is also sending her child there.
Do you think he offered them like contracts? He's like scholarships, like send your kids here.
Yeah, so it has a $15,000 a year tuition for students who are not receiving financial aid, and about half of the students attending right now are receiving scholarships.
Yep. And also all the students going there, families had to sign non-disclosure agreements, so they can't talk about the school at all.
Yeah, and the same thing for the staff. Mm-hmm. So, and also they had an executive, an executive chair that left like a month before they started the school year.
Yep. I mean, I feel like it's not like this is a new school year for a school that's already been around. I feel like that type of stuff might happen if you're trying to literally functionally create something from scratch. Like people are going to come and go early on as you figure out who you are and in the type of school you're going to be. Like with any business, right? Like not everyone's going to fit the mold, so I think people will come and go. My main question here is like, do we think that this is a good thing for our educational system in general?
I'm not sure, because I would believe in it more if it tried to mirror classical education rather than
but I thought that's how we got in this problem to begin with, was classical education's a problem here right now.
Well, no, because classical education has been ditched for modernist, like reimagined version that's I mean, there's a lot of history to that. John Dewey is a relevant figure in how we got to where education is at today.
So it says right here, it says, when it says who we are, it says to be a reflection of God's glory in the world. And then Donda Rule 58, which says writing should be regarded as an activity that necessitates critical thinking, an aspect that is fundamental to all good writing.
There's apparently a rule, like a list of many rules for this school that we don't have access to yet.
Minimum 58.
12 students per class, 10 to 1 student to teacher ratio. Mm-hmm. Is that up there? I mean, that seems very low to me.
Which it's preferable to have a low teacher.
So Rule
ratio.
51 says students. By the way, I'm reading now rules for. I have no idea where the hell rules 1 through 50 and 52 through 57 are, but I have rules 51 and 58.
And there could be even more than 58.
Yes. So it says students must be confident in forming ideas. If not, their writing will suffer. And it says Donda in a day. It says each day Donda students learn fundamentals, grow in their faith, and experience 2 enrichment classes. Full school worship, core classes of language, arts, math, and science, lunch and recess. Well, I'm glad he's not getting rid of recess. Power to Kanye for that.
Let's
Thank
go.
you. Boys especially need recess because, one of the reasons that school is so bad for young men is you're like, they're putting them on Ritalin and Adderall because you're locking them in a room for 8 hours and then getting
harsh fluorescence.
Shocked when they're like, I can't sit still. What is the problem here? So world language, visual, they also add visual arts, film, choir, and parkour. I want to go and see a parkour class at Donda Academy.
Yeah, they've also got a basketball team for which they've attracted some of the top players in the country, high school age players, I mean, all from all around, and they're housing them in luxury apartments. I find that suspicious because if you can't get accredited and hold them up to certain academic standards, then you're not actually going to prepare them to become college athletes or professional athletes at all.
Yep.
Really, you need to have a focus on the whole formation of the students.
I also want to point out that he kind of they talk about how he hasn't read any book, which is not true. Kanye West was like, I had it up here because as soon as I read that, I was like, that rings false to me. And I had to re-look up and just make sure I wasn't crazy. It says, after graduating from high school, West received a scholarship to attend Chicago's American Academy of Art in 1997 and began taking painting classes shortly after. He transferred to Chicago State University to study English. So he may have dropped out, but my guess is at least one book got read in there somewhere.
In there.
I also like the part where he says that he doesn't read all of text messages. He reads just the first sentence and the last sentence. I think I'm going to try that someday. But that seems very dismissive and rude.
That's how they teach you to do the SATs. It's
what?
like you read the first 2 sentences and the last sentence.
Why?
Because it's a time test. So it's like a trap. And it's supposed to be that the first 2 sentences have all the context that you need, and the last sentence tells you where the next one is going, and everything in the middle is basically just filler.
Yep.
I want to read something from the Rolling Stone article that goes into the most detail. One person who worked with the school's culinary team said they were involved in developing, quote, elevated high-concept coffee, tea, and fruit-focused beverages for kids, parents, and faculty. Think like distilled chicory coffee, shaved ice with milk syrup, they say. We led a food science class for the students as well, where the kids can learn the fundamentals of cooking. So it sounds like they're trying to also teach practical skills. I just hope that that's not at the expense of the core classes. They're including those, language arts, math, science. But it takes more than just having those classes to get accredited. And I'm interested to see whether that will happen for them. Because that is kind of fundamental. If you're claiming to be a prep school, you've got to actually prep them for college, and you can't do that without accreditation. The former executive director, Beulah McLeod, left and said that she moved on because of philosophical differences about the level of stability that is required to educate students in an effective way. She said, as an educator with over 22 years of experience in the field, I always put children at the forefront of any decision I make. Consequently, I moved on. This sounds like a bad sign for the viability of this experimental project. Like, I see a huge emphasis on music. They've got a choir.
Well,
I see a huge emphasis on
arts
sports.
academies are things.
Yeah. But Kanye West is a businessman and an artist. He's not an expert in education. He's also not he might be sacrificing the practical for the like visionary aspect of the whole thing. He has a big vision for it, but he's not finding the people who can practically make it happen.
If this school was accredited and I had kids, I honestly would be pretty interested in having them experience at least a semester.
But don't you think the NDAs are suspicious?
I do think the NDAs are suspicious, but for me the biggest thing is the non-accreditation, because you're wasting your time essentially.
It says they spoke of its unique programs for students, which have fashion courses, Japanese, restorative justice instruction.
That was interesting
and
to me.
STEM
What
classes.
does that mean?
I don't know what
No
restorative
idea.
justice instruction is, but
Like, there's a lot of platitudes being said. Like,
And the website's
Tamar
not very
Andrews is a consultant for the Academy, and he said, people choose to bring their kids to Donda Academy for a sense of privacy, a sense of care, a sense of concern, a sense of love, an environment of health, an environment of wealth, an environment of learning, and putting God as a focus. So that's a lot of great goals to have for the school, but who is actually going to bring this about and make it happen day to day?
Feels like a very, very, very ambitious thing to try and accomplish, and that it will just take time. But my guess is those first few classes will be guinea pigs of a sort as they work out the kinks into what needs to actually go into making it work.
And that's true of a lot of private schools.
And what
Like, it starts
worries
out
me-
small.
Yeah.
The website in terms of functionality is simply not there. And the for example, and this is because I used to maintain a website for the longest time. In the section of how we learn, the when you click on it, it's just kids on a board, and you have to scroll down for any type of content, and that's ridiculous. Like, people, when they click on something, they expect to see their stimuli within 5 seconds, and someone may click and be like, "Well, guess it's not here." So, and I know I know for a fact that he knows about design, and if he knows about design, he must know about web design, at least rudimentary. And this is I don't think this knowledge shocks anyone. So the fact that the website is so lackadaisical and not seemingly well thought out is concerning.
Yeah, and then it doesn't reveal much about what the school is actually doing. The air of secrecy about it is the most worrying part, I
Right.
think. Because if you're a private school, every private school that is successful needs to be profitable as well. It is a company. It's a private company. And you need a marketing team. Like, that's something you can't overlook. Like, you're selling a product to the possible students and parents.
Well, they're kind of marketing it with the air of secrecy and on his name, honestly.
Yeah.
Everything
But
is
that's
based
not
on his name.
enough.
No,
That's
it's
not
not.
enough.
No,
You
it's
need
not.
outcomes. I don't even know if they plan on doing standardized testing to prove that they can, you know, create the right outcomes for like intellectual formation and academic success, and not just
Also, isn't it a crime not to have your kids at school? So if the school isn't accredited and you have your kids in this school that's not accredited, like, does that circumvent that law?
I don't know.
well, I mean, a lot of people have switched to homeschooling in recent years, and you don't need accreditation if you are privately educating your kids. You only need to prove that you are doing some kind of education. Yeah. You don't have to do the standardized testing, but that does hurt a student's ability to eventually get into college.
Also, what do you think about him comparing himself to Moses?
He did? What's the exact way he said that?
Kanye West wiped social media after bizarre comparisons to Moses from the Bible. It says no one asked Moses how much he slept in a story post. He also hinted that he may not be sleeping much, sharing texts to Instagram in an apparent dig at those around him. Do you think that's him comparing himself to Moses?
Yeah, it sounds like something said in a manic state, though.
Yeah. What would that comparison be? I have no idea.
I guess,
what's fascinating?
Feeling like he's a leader of some group of people that's been exiled from the rest of society.
Perhaps.
He's a leader of men.
I don't know.
And for me, what fascinates me about Kanye, because on the surface level, honestly, I shouldn't be the guy that's fascinated by him, but I truly am. And it's that he is a person that still dares to dream. He's a person that still dares to think. And say what you will, he is an artist.
Yep.
And of the very few remaining, because I feel that artists now are products. And he is an artist. And that is what fascinates me. And it's also, like, no one ever tell him that. But this is what also fascinates me about Shane, is that, like, he's clearly an artist.
Okay.
And
keep going.
He has and I mean it, but and he has a vision, and it's an interesting one. And his book, I can't say the word, the effing lunatic.
Yeah,
it's really an interesting book. That's a time capsule of a period in time, and it makes me feel like I'm in exactly that time again, which it's incredible for art to do that. And
are you guys gonna have? Assuming you have kids, are gonna homeschool?
I would if I had to, and if I had to, that means there's nowhere else
to go.
Yeah, which is probably going to be the case.
Yeah, it feels that way more and more. Maybe it's like a little bit of like being blackpilled from seeing everything that somebody like James Lindsay posts about how awful the educate, or even Project Veritas and all the stuff that they post about education. It's very disheartening to see.
I applaud any efforts to try to repair that system or be even a small part of helping. Recovering it. Yeah. But what I'm afraid of in this instance is that because Kanye West is an artist and a visionary of sorts, like maybe a vision is all he has so far, and that's not enough to actually get the outcomes these kids deserve.
Absolutely. Yep. We'll see.
And they say that he has had this idea for a long time. He always wanted to create a school in his mother's name. They're focusing a lot on these magnet talents, like music, sports, fashion even. But you've got to focus on the fundamentals just as much. And with their staffing issues, it doesn't seem like a proper focus is being put on that.
I guess also like the next step would be to wait and see if any type of accreditation comes out of this, and then maybe you can take a step
we'll find
forward.
out in spring.
Yeah,
that's when they're scheduled to look at the school. Hopefully they've like kind of gotten into the swing of things by then.
Yep.
I didn't hear anything about history either.
Yeah, no.
Seems like an important one.
That should be one of the core classes. Before also, you get to like cooking classes,
actual bring back civics. Like they don't teach civics in school anymore.
No.
Mm-hmm.
So
they just don't have the staff that they need. It sounds like
the lack of like a lot of people think that was on purpose, right? That the reason like that a lot of people are so lost politically now is that they just don't teach you how the government works. So people are easily fooled if they're never taught about how government actually works.
You know what else they don't have as a Christian school? They don't have any religious studies.
I think they said they had a vote of worship.
Yeah, they did.
Well, they have worship services, but that's not the same thing as a religious studies course.
It isn't.
Like they do Sunday service, which also requires NDAs, by the way.
Now Mary's
the gears are turning
really up there. Now she's like, that's a problem.
Like they don't have a biblical studies course, it seems. I mean, who knows? We're not allowed in there and we don't know any of the details, so maybe they do.
We should send you in undercover.
Yeah.
We will.
I'll pretend to be one of the high school students.
You totally could.
Or I could like bring my fake 3-year-old child to the preschool.
No.
One of the super chats has already devised a plan.
Thanks for watching this clip, guys. If you want to see full episodes or follow us on social media, links are in the description below. Bye.
Bye.